Today on Arrows in Motion, we have Dan Graney. He is a creative copywriter, pop culture enthusiast for many decades. We talk about how the tools of the trade have changed, but it always goes back to the value of digging deeper, discovery, and pushing the boundaries.
So when did she do?
August 9th.
So after that day, you will understand and appreciate that you will find bits of food on you, and it's easier to eat it than to get to a trash can if you're holding a baby. You will look down and be like, and it's, not so much the soft stuff. Yeah. But once it's like things like Cheerios, you will go and just eat it.
You know what's funny is like there are so many things about having a kid, and the one thing that I have that I'm most spooked about is like the mess in the crumbs. Like I'm such an OCD. I left when I got like my first round of agency burnout. When I was like, I'm toast.
Yeah.
I went and started literally just cleaning houses because it was like a thing that I thought was fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
That was agencies. They have a way of doing that.
I have selective OCD. I have like things like files and physical media and stuff like that. But then it's like there's other times where it's like I kind of wish I had a little more OCD. Like I wish in my wiring behind all my equipment, like getting my equipment to work, getting everything to work, because I've got this, with my my NAS and my Plex and, all of the software and the hardware and all of that stuff. I will not stop until everything is working exactly right. However, the wiring behind all that stuff is a disaster. And I look at it and it makes me sad because I'm like, man, if I only had just a little more.
Like, why doesn't my brain care about cable ties?
No, it doesn't. Yeah, and I wish it. I mean, it does. The thing is, I'll look at it and I'll be like, oh, and I just have to look away.
Like, that's when I get home, I'm like freaking out when there's streaks on the countertop. Like, I'll do that, like looking at different light angles, but it look like my desk looks like a sitcom closet, like dumped out on top of it.
So, yeah, that you'll have good practice with that.
I guess. I'm just like, I feel like it could be this. I'm like mentally about to explode just like everybody else. I'm just hoping it's not the straw that breaks the camel's back. But
the only thing, because so then obviously everybody's giving you advice.
Yes.
I'm assuming.
Yes.
And everybody is going to tell you, even people who do not have children, which I'm always like, I don't discredit or discount those people, but it is not the same thing. And I was one of those people. I mean, there was a point when my sister had my nephew, my godson, and I had a cat. And in my head, I equated my relationship with my cat like, well, he's kind of like my kid. That is, and I admit this freely. Yeah. It's like, I'm not proud of this. I was an idiot. That was the dumbest thing I could have ever said. And I've said a lot of dumb things, but that was like really dumb. But I will say, the best thing I ever heard was, sleep when the baby sleeps. It doesn't matter when.
I think that's great advice. That's somebody, one of my good friends told me something really similar is like, you're going to have to learn to be more flexible than you've been for a very long time.
Yeah, I actually kind of resented it. Like the first couple of weeks I was like, this is bull crap. I am not sleeping at 7. And within a couple of days I'm like,
yeah, it's like when you start dissociating because you're exhausted. You're just like, I'll sleep when I can sleep.
Because that kid's going to get up. You can't make the baby sleep. I mean, you want to, and you'll have those little milestones like 3 hours, yay, and then it'll be 4 hours, yay. But the thing is, it seems just unbearable at the time, and then like it'll be gone. And then you'll be like, oh, yeah, that's right. We didn't sleep for a while.
I always related it. Like, I'm a horrible dog parent. I have 2 dogs that I've done a horrific, no-effort job training. So, like, they bark like maniacs every time something happens outside.
Yeah.
And I hate them sometimes, but it's like I deeply love these things.
Sure.
And they're dogs. I can't imagine Like what I'll feel for the child.
Oh, it's devastating. That's what I told somebody, is that it's like that amount of
Doug, are you recording? Yeah.
that amount of love and affection is crippling and devastating. It's amazing, but it is also, you're just like, oh.
When you say devastating, do you mean like the weight of it?
Absolutely. And you don't understand it until all of a sudden you're just like, oh my God. And you feel like, and you realize, I'm going to carry this forever. And in that like first year, I'm pretty sure in the first year, I don't know how many times I apologized to my parents for just being a child.
Oh.
Not just a child, a teenager. I'm just like, and now my daughter's 13. My son is 14. They're 6 months apart though, so that's fun. And I see so much of like, and I would think that I would be better at handling this transition into teenagers because I have a pretty solid memory. I don't forget things often or easily. And I remember most of being a teenager, and I'm just like, damn it. Ugh. And I wish I should be, having that vivid memory, I should be like, oh, I got this, because I totally remember what I was like. But I'm like not reacting. I don't know what to do. It's just like, oh no.
Well, I mean, the context you have on life from when you were a teenager to when you're managing teenagers is just so radically different.
Oh, yeah.
It's impossible to square.
Yeah. It's just, and I'm constantly like, because I told my wife, she's like, she'll do the, when we were, I'm like, don't even. I'm like, it's pointless, because nothing of that world exists now.
It's like every generation has done that, and it's mattered zero times.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you can't look backward. You could look backwards and appreciate things and think about the adapted, how you adapted to it or whatever you did. But, if we had, I mean, independence was just having an extra long cord on the phone in your kitchen so you could get out of the kitchen. God. For me, it was like around the corner and sitting on the middle of the steps.
God, that's such a funny, specific memory. It's just like, I think sometimes people look back and think of life as like an era that cleanly ended and it began, and it's just like this continuous thing.
Yeah, it's changing all the time. I mean, we were just talking. It's like there's a thing that, happens to come along, whatever the catalyst is, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I guess it's what it is now.
I guess I'll get to that thing, which I think everybody knows what that new thing is. But speaking of when you were a teenager, I did some internet creeping, as I often do, and found like the funniest thing about when you were a teenager, your first piece of copy.
Oh.
For Walden Books.
Walden Books, Reader Bleed.
Reader Bleed. I thought
Reader
that was
Bleed.
so funny.
Oh,
what was the corresponding illustration?
Oh, it was a barbarian, and it wasn't exactly Conan, but I mean Conan-esque. I'm sure now I would probably get a cease and desist letter, but I had it had like a book, or I had a bloody axe, and he had a severed head. And it was for Walden Books summer reading program, and it was, I put Reader Bleed. It actually, I think they only had 3 submissions, but it was up there.
So you were a medalist at least.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely placed.
Do you still believe it's Reader Bleed?
I mean, I think it's Reader Bleed, but maybe. In shorter bursts, and it might be on your tablet. As much as I appreciate, in fact, last week I was at a local bookstore, the Fantasy. Can I say?
Yes.
Oh, okay. The Fantasy Shop here in St. Louis. So we've got a lot of great comic and card shops, And this is the one in St. Charles because the one by me in Creve Coeur was closed, but they're reopening soon. And, I went there. It was actually an initiative from my job. It was called Meet Main Street, where we all went out and supported small independent businesses, local businesses. And it was great, just that thrill of like going in. And it's one of the few things that we can do now that has that sort of like sense of discovery. When you walk around and you're like, ooh, what's this? And you get to pick something up, and that tactile moment where you're like, oh, I didn't even know this existed. I found a Creature from the Black Lagoon Lives graphic novel that apparently came out recently. Didn't know it was a thing at all. Totally got it. I am expensing it. They said they'd pay, but and it made me think about like going to the video store, and when you would go out and you'd hope you'd get the big movie. Could be a Friday night, and you'd go to the store, and you'd get there, and it was just a bunch of empty boxes. But but there was also that thing where it's like, well, what's this? I don't know. Let's get it, and that chance that people would take, and we don't have that now. And the thing with Walden Books, it was like, which at the time they were, what was it? There was B. Dalton and Walden, I think, were the two kind of like mall bookstores. Here in St. Louis, we had Library Limited, which was, the like big indie bookstore, which I really, really miss. Before, Borders came along, and then Borders came along, and it seemed like that's it. That's the way it's going to be. Borders is gone.
Yeah.
And
the independents are still everywhere.
And now just bookstores in general are starting to feel like this thing that have, gone away. Why? Because we're in the era of everything available all the time.
Infinite frictionless access to
everything is available, and it makes me want to figure out a way to come up with, even though all you got to do is look online, and how when you're served up things, whether it's on Prime or Amazon or Netflix, wherever you're looking, it's always, you might like this, and it's like, I might, but I usually don't. Mm-hmm. And it's because just whatever the algorithm is, it's not predicting. It's predicting there's some pattern there, but it's not me. And it's also, it's like, yeah, but that's almost exactly the same thing, just with a different coat of paint.
Yes, it's derivative. It doesn't have the same like thing that I loved about the other thing. Yeah,
it's like, if I watch, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, you might like Star Trek III. You think? I mean, it's like, well, yeah, thanks. Way to dig deep.
I was there's an interview that's going viral now, and I can't think of the guy's name. He runs Take-Two. It's a video game lab that puts out Grand Theft Auto. And he was talking about like his feelings on AI, which were nuanced, and I think exactly sort of how I feel.
Yeah.
Is it's like, yes, without AI, you could have made a Grand Theft Auto clone over a period of years, but that doesn't mean anything. A derivative work that's not why people love Grand Theft Auto. They love it because it's Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. Funny thing, sidebar, I remember the first time I played a Grand Theft Auto game, and I think it might have been 2. It was before they went to...
was that like top
down?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember, why? Because I rented that at a Blockbuster, video. That's when they had games.
Yes.
Which is funny because Blockbuster used to not do like violent games, but I guess because it was top down, it wasn't really, I don't know. And I remember playing that. I liked it, and then GTA 3 came out, and it was like, what? Although I see it now and looking at, I know there's a lot of like nostalgia for retro, and sometimes it works, and sometimes you're just like, ugh.
Yes.
Like I can't play this, and I can't even look at it.
Yeah, I found that when I like dusted off my like Nintendo 64 and put in like Wave Race, which was like a jaw-dropping technical marvel.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, this is crap.
Oh,
this is an
it's
unplayable
yeah.
monstrosity.
Yeah, but at the time though, we were like, look at those water graphics.
Yeah, it's like this triangle water. It's so realistic.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, well, that's the whole thing. Like, AI as a creative tool for, like, I'm curious how they're using AI for GTA 6 because that's maybe coming out in November.
Yeah, or this year, next year, we'll see. Somebody was talking about one of the best use cases in gaming for AI is making the like non-playable characters more immersive and interesting and adaptable. And I can't think of much else other than just expediting the development.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if there were a deep dive to, kind of talk about, because there are people, one of those things is like, I always find myself appreciating in things like Red Dead 2. Just the fact that you can look at something in the distance and you can go there. And that's a lot of games like the Assassin's Creed game and pretty much those open world games where you see something and you're like, I can go there if I want. And then you go there and you're just like, if you ever just do that, not, stray from the storyline and from that and just go from one point to another in the distance, ride your horse over there and you look at it and you appreciate all of the insane amount of detail, like here are some rocks over there and look at that tree and all of the things from here to there that people just don't even look at or take for granted. And there are people who that's their job to put those things there and make them like, well, I made this one, a little more brown and I made that one green. And
do you think being a you come from a copywriter creative background. Do you think being a creator yourself allows you to appreciate the craftsmanship of those details in a way that their average
oh yeah,
consumer
definitely.
doesn't?
I mean, there are times where I'm just like, I'll be like, oh, look at this waterfall I found. And it's not anything like, be sure to go to the waterfall. There's nothing about going to the waterfall. There's no direction. There's no story points. There's no fish to catch. I mean, it was just happened to be something over there in the distance. And to look at that and be like, huh, and find that for whatever reason, somebody decided, I'll put this over there.
You mentioned when you were talking about the feeling, and I remember it vividly, is going to Video Update that was on the corner down from my parents' house. You mentioned this concept of the feeling of discovery. Like you were rifling through, you were pulling the cover back, and so there's no blanks behind it.
Yeah.
Like the feeling that you get from those open world games sounds like the same thing. It's like you're going off the algorithmic track and you're discovering things that are unique to your process.
Yeah, I mean, I think chasing down the ability to chase different directions or go different directions, and I think from a gaming standpoint, the smart games are learning how to respond to that and evolve that. Now, they're still, a lot of times like the stories are still on rails. It's still like, well, you still have to storm this fort or whatever it is. But sure, if you want to go over there and see if there's something inside a cave that we put randomly down there. Now, will we get to a point where they can alter the story because of that? And it impacts, like, oh, you're the guy that found the creature in the cave. Yeah, we heard about you. If they can get to that point, I mean, that's the thing that I think it makes it more exciting. And that's something that we're going to need something like AI to do, because a human cannot think of infinite moves another human can make.
So I think it's interesting just talking to you for a few minutes before we sat down. Like you started as a pure creative, which in the last couple years, I think is one of the communities that have been most oppositional to the AI takeover and the unavoidable conversation in every business setting. You seem more accepting of it as a tool.
Yeah, I mean, just generally as a nerd who gets excited about new technology. I mean, I've always been excited about new technology. I still get excited, well, there's been ups and downs, like, being an Apple person. There would be like, ooh, the new developers conference is coming up, or the new Mac keynote and stuff like that. And I would always watch that. And at one job, there was like a handful of us. We were all like watching live, at our desktops and stuff like that. So it was always just this thing of staying on top of whatever is coming out. And AI is one of those things that kind of came, when it came out and it was suddenly widely available to everybody, it was instantly available and very cheap. And immediately you started seeing people use it. And I also started to see, especially creatives, not use it and also swear they would never use it, which I thought, I don't think that's a good idea. Because, I mean, at the time, I remember telling somebody, I go, there was a time, especially from a copywriter standpoint, is like anybody with a keyboard became a writer. And to me, this was like, I'm pretty sure I need to know what this thing does because somebody else is going to use it. And they're going to use it the wrong way or just poorly. And they're going to say, well, I did this. And I'm not going to have an argument for that because somebody will look at it and be like, well, this mediocrity took me all of 5 minutes and I'm still waiting, and you still have like 2 weeks to go. And that's when I was like, if there's a new tool out there and it's going to be in everybody's hands, I'm going to make sure I really know how to use that tool. So one, I can use it myself and I can use it the right way, but I can also help other people use it. Like, to fight it doesn't mean, that's a battle that's just nobody's going to win. As a copywriter, I couldn't go out there and stop everybody else from getting, access to Microsoft Word and having a keyboard. There's still people who, I will always say this, and with respect to all my designer friends, it's like there are still people out there who kind of like ease up on people who are either videographers or designers because they know they can't open up Premiere or Final Cut Pro, but they can't open that up. They know they can't really open up Photoshop or Illustrator and use the tool to achieve what they want. But any fool out there with a keyboard can be a writer, and now a better writer. So, yeah, I think to stand in opposition against AI is not really the best stance. And I think I mentioned a quote somebody shared he had heard, which was, AI is not going to replace your job. Somebody who knows how to use AI might replace your job. And to which I add, so learn how to use AI.
Yeah, like history has told us for a long time, like progress is an unstoppable force.
Absolutely. This is no different than the Industrial Revolution. It's no different than we were talking about Photoshop when Photoshop came along, and photographers, purists, people who worked in the lab and used all the chemicals and everything, and they're like, this is an outrage. And it's like, I don't know a single photographer who doesn't use Photoshop. How long has Photoshop been around? What, 20, 30 years?
Yeah, about 30. It's the same as when 27 years.
27 years. By the way, Photoshop, created by...
37?
Created by John Knoll and his brother, John Knoll, who came up with the idea for Rogue One.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jesus, what a byline.
Look up John Knoll if you haven't watched the show, The Imagineering Story. Watch it. It's fantastic. And it talks about John Knoll. This is the most unassuming guy who got himself into, got himself a job because he hung out at ILM. And they were like, okay. So he started working there. Oh, and he and his brother created Photoshop.
It's such an unbelievable impact to make on the world.
Yeah. He's just one of those people. And the fact is that the guy is just so quiet and humble and just an easygoing, normal guy. It's like, we need more people like that.
Do you do design? I know you drew Conan or
Poorly.
Glistening Hunk.
I have always, because of my being a comic book kid, I would write stories, and then I didn't really have a whole lot of comic book kid friends at the time.
As most comic book fans do. Yeah.
Believe it or not. Although now it's just like, man, if I could be man, in my day, we were just lonely nerds, and now there's so many of us.
Yeah.
But so I drew all the time. But I always drew even as a kid. So I always kind of trusted my hand skills within reason, as a point to get the point across, or because there have been people who kind of looked at it as I don't know what you're talking about, and so I would do storyboards and stuff like that, but enough to get the point across. But do some
So
illustration.
Dan, how do you use AI in your work?
A lot of it I use, first I start with just note-taking. Really? It's fantastic because, one, I am, as a writer, and I mean physically writing down, it's awful. I signed a card recently for Mother's Day, and I was like, my handwriting looked like I gave a pencil to a baby.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've always been bad because I write really fast and frantically. I don't write cursive. I'm like, I don't have time for that business, And so it for me, like a note taking and remembering things, and that was a big part. It's like I needed this to remember. I needed to source information. Now, with AI, especially early on, it was pulling in sources that are absolutely fabricated.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were not checking. They weren't fact checking. And I would say, are you sure about that? Can you give me the source where you got that? Can you give me the link where you found that? And if you keep pushing it and keep pushing it and keep challenging it, and I think that's the thing is I don't think people realize that the best way to use AI is to have a conversation with it and not just say, make a blank for me, is to get in there and say, I'm working on this and this is what I'm trying to do and I want you to keep track of this and we might come back to that and please save this to memory and stuff like that. But always check it. And I think for me, that's what I've done is first note-taking, sometimes outlining, and sometimes I'm I'm thinking this, and I've got it to the point where I had been using ChatGPT, and I'm slowly transitioning to Claude, which is painful because there is an export tool in ChatGPT that will allow you to export, but it could take weeks.
Yeah, you have a lot of memory.
I'm like, it's just not happening, and I've been using Claude. Just because I've noticed at a certain point that using ChatGPT so long, I'm like, yeah, I'm great, thanks. However, I'm wanting it to be more critical, and there's been a handful of times where it's in my job search, it was fantastic, because I was out of work for a while. It's happened many times in my career. My career has had as many jobs as I've had not jobs. And so it was fantastic just to keep track of everything and to store all my correspondence and everything. And I used it to see how many jobs I applied to over the period of time that I was on a job search. And it was a lot. That's
depressing.
Very many. Very many. And there were a handful of jobs. There was one job that came up, and I said, I've got this interview. I want to go to this afternoon. I'm trying to find out more information. If you could source anything in the media. I mean, it was basically, I was using it no different than I would use Google search, but it was digging a little bit deeper and looking in a lot more places. And AI chat, Cha-Cha, I would call her, she came back and she said, this doesn't sound like a good fit for you.
Dang.
I was like, man, I think I've got this thing to the point where I'm like, and
Was Cha-Cha right?
And she was absolutely correct. And that was before the interview. I was like, well, but I'm not really working right now, so it would be great to. I'm going to go. And it said, but it was very adamant. It was like, this doesn't seem like the best fit.
God, that's really funny.
But I mean, I think that's using it as an ally and as a tool and as no different than I use. I mean, it's just the internet. I mean, one agency, my first agency job, I worked there, and I'll date myself. I was working there when they got the internet, and I was the third person to have access to the internet at the time. That's when people, still, rode the wave of the internet.
That's a funny thing to think about.
And I was the third person because I remember the owner was like, check this out to see if this is something we want to get everybody access to. And so I was all over about like, can I break it? And what can I do? And how does it work? And obviously, you're talking the dawn of AOL and CompuServe and Prodigy and trying to think if there was any other.
Geocities.
Yes. Yeah.
So many good ones.
All of that stuff. And it was, I was like, well, I think it's just another tool. Now I don't have to go, to the library because there are a lot of times on projects I'd be like, gotta go to the library.
That's interesting. Like, just the words that you said about AI and the internet is like, you challenge it, you like dig deeper, challenge the assumptions, see if you can break it. It sounds like the same advice you would have given like a pencil and paper copywriter junior 25 years ago.
Oh, yeah. I mean, nobody, I've had this conversation a few times, and sometimes, with supervisors or bosses. But nobody has ever either not hired or fired a creative or an agency for being too creative.
Yep.
That doesn't happen. As much as there are people who believe like, oh, I don't know if we should do this, this is going to be too much. It's like there's a general expectation from clients that they need to rein you in. In fact, I think they're disappointed if they don't feel the need to rein you in.
Yep. You always say when we sit in an onboarding meeting or like when we're about to do the thing, we always say, I just want to be really clear. We're going to take some big swings.
Absolutely.
And there is zero sensitivity if you don't like the direction, but somebody has to do something.
Yeah. I always used to look at it as with anything. It was always like, because somebody would say, oh, we should just present one idea. And it's like, unless you're really, 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 really good. And there are some agencies who are really good who are able to do this. And I've talked to people. I'm like, that's amazing. Good for you. Usually it's two. I've always been a fan of three. One, I like prime numbers. But I also like three because it's like, I would always tee it up as like iteration, evolution, revolution. We're going to do an iteration, which means we're going to take the safe space. This is where you are now from a concept. And we're going to go, we're going to push it a little bit. And you're going to look at it and you're going to like, yeah, a little safe. Might make you a little nervous, but it's pretty close to where you are. Then there's evolution. And evolution is like, here's where you are. We're going to just go like this, and we're going to put you over here. A little bit further. And usually this is the thing that makes them nervous. As soon as they see it, it's like, oh, you just went outside of my safe space. And you can start to see that they have that sense of panic, worry. And then you say, okay, now we're going to go with this third idea. And that third idea serves, a couple purposes. One, when I see this, the revolution idea. This is like, okay, just no holds barred, And now, when I say that, you still have to use, gravity has to apply. You have to stay within the budget. You have to stay within legal and physical constraints. You can't come up with something that is entirely impossible or unachievable or undoable. But you would say, here's revolution. Now, when they see that, all of a sudden that middle one they were nervous about, they're A-okay with it. And they're like, yeah, let's do that. And it's like, great. The other thing that this achieves is that this gets the team, one, excited. Everybody's excited. And it reminds them of why they hired you, which is, I want to see that. And if you didn't give them that, they're going to be like, well, why didn't you think of doing this? And that, to me, is like the kiss of death from any client, is to wonder, what is too far?
That's an incredible framework for presenting iteration, evolution, revolution. Is that a Dan special?
It is a Dan special.
Boy.
I don't know that I could say that it's that unique. It's just like there's A, B, or C. And,
it's a fun way to phrase it. And I think like it's anything that helps you get into the right mindset is valuable. And I think when you're forced to do something that is way off the reservation, it gets you out of that derivative Me Too sort of mindset that tanks agencies.
It's helpful because it allows for exploration. The stuff that comes out of that third idea, and I've always said, and I've had people say, well, that's just a waste of an idea. We're just wasting time. And it's like, but that's not true, because one, something out of that might actually, seep over into this one over here. But again, when the clients see it, they go, wow, man, they took it out there. And that's what they want to see.
Well, I mean, it signals that a group of people sat in a room and cared enough to think and throw stuff against the wall and get it into a place that's presentable.
Yeah. I mean, you don't make it so ludicrous that it's, and I've seen that where it's like, it could go wrong. And a concept is like, oh, we're gonna do this thing in space. And it's like, well, I mean, but we can't go to space. And it's like, and I hate that whole thing where it's like, well, there's no such thing as a bad idea. And it's like, nah, there is. We need bad ideas. That bad ideas are important because that's how we separate which ones are good.
Yeah,
I mean, for me, it's just don't pop somebody's balloon. You can try to figure out how to make it float.
What's the most radical idea pitch you've ever gotten signed off?
Oh man, what's the furthest one? Recently there was a client who they're an oral care probiotic. Now, I know that sounds exciting, and you right on the edge of your seat. So, now when I say that, it is like a probiotic, but literally for your mouth, not for your gut. Because most people think probiotics, they do a gut health thing. It's the biome. But this is actually one for your oral biome, which is all about, bacteria, good bacteria versus bad bacteria. And I remember this is one of those things where it's like we had the project and we were working on it and we came up with something and they were happy with it. And it was really uninspiring and just kind of boring. And it reminded me of every other mouth thing I've ever seen where I'm just like, and I've never been I always just gotta get queasy. Just think about I don't have a mouth issue or anything, but it was just like, it's just kind of gross and it doesn't really explain anything. And here we are trying to explain this oral probiotic when a lot of people don't fully understand what probiotics are. And now we gotta go, it's like we went so deep into the science of it that we didn't even go, no, this is what this thing does. And so we went back and came up with an extension of the idea. It was like, let's just go back and do it again. And we started over. And because we knew that there was like a, all team meeting, we had the PR people and everybody else from all, parts of the company and other agencies. And we came in with a campaign that basically said, we called everything out. Like we called out, the toothbrush, and we called out mouthwash, because I remember the president, she was talking about it, and she was very radical. She was kind of like, people don't even need to floss. And I'm like, I don't know that dentists agree with you. But she was just this belief that, like, if you only did this is all you would need to do. I'm like, well, maybe there's a middle. And so we said, came up with this campaign, and basically the idea was your toothbrush is a filthy liar. And it was very bold and yellow and black and obnoxious and shouty, and took it into a totally different place of, sort of like explaining like, yeah, your toothbrush, it does an okay job, but, it's just kind of brushing stuff away. It doesn't really solve the problem. And then we took it a step further, and this actually came from her, so I knew it'd get sign off, even though it immediately made everybody else in the room freak out. Your mouthwash is a murderer. And it is essentially saying that your mouthwash kills everything, not just the bad bacteria in your mouth. This is where tooth decay and gum disease and bad breath and yellow and all that, that's from bad bacteria. But it also kills the good bacteria, and you need good bacteria to defeat the bad bacteria. And the whole idea behind the probiotic was you replenish the good, and it beats up the bad and kicks them out. And so we had a lot of more fun with it, and got away from, instead of trying to be clinical and science says this and having doctors, and they had a whole team of doctors who would share all this stuff, and I was like, okay, that's not going to work, because it's not explaining why this matters. And so that was one of those things, and it's not that long ago, but it was just sort of like, what if we just ditch the science and the expected route and the safe space, and remember, people don't know what this is or why it matters, and just get to like the conversation of like, we're going to speak plainly and directly and just say, here's the thing, and this is why it's important.
That's right. When you said the product category, I thought, they probably wanted to go clinical.
Absolutely. Sure, because they had the science. And it was a patented formula. So it was like, well, we got to talk about that patented formula. And they always would say, you got to connect the dots. And I was like, you have so many dots, and I have 30 seconds. Right. Can we maybe skip some and say, find out more? I love find out more, because find out more gets you past that part of the story.
Yeah, it satisfies the clinical people. Yes. It's like, let's bury that later.
Yeah, it's there, and it'll be beautiful. It'll be glorious. A whole page of all of that stuff.
It's like, I bet that exists somewhere on the Olipop or Poppy websites, but
absolutely,
99% of people suck at that down, have no idea what a gut biome is, myself included.
They're like, but that's the thing, is like, you're assuming that people can differentiate between this biome and that biome. And, most people don't know what regular probiotics are. Now you're saying, well, this is a different one. It stays in your mouth.
No, you don't want like someone to have to do a research project before they rip something off your shelf.
Yeah. So that was one. There's been a handful of things. There's been weird ones and ones that should have happened. There was a period of time when I worked at an agency in Dallas, and one of our clients was PepsiCo. So it was PepsiCo, which meant Yum Brands and Frito-Lay and Taco Bell and all of that. And I was at this agency. It was right around, and a lot of what I did was like, my job was reading scripts and saying, hey, because that's when everybody was doing movie tie-ins. It was mid to late 90s. And they would be like, hey, read the script. Do you think we should partner with this? And I remember I read the script to Godzilla, the bad one. the Matthew Broderick
Yes,
one.
we know what the one is.
And I read the script, and I'm like, this is terrible. But that, they're like, well, we're going to do this thing, with the Taco Bell dog, and we think it's going to take off. And then I read the script to Batman and Robin, and I'm like, this is terrible. And I just remember, like, script after script, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it would tie in. And at the same time, I was trying to get them to do something with Scooby-Doo, and they're like, nah, nobody watches Scooby-Doo. I'm like, I think we might want to, rethink that, because Scooby-Doo is still sort of this, you've got the nostalgia factor, but then you also have the new stuff that was coming.
It's a multi-generational icon.
Exactly. It's like, don't forget, it was the Q rating was incredibly high, way higher than they thought. But they're like, okay, well, just come up with some stuff for Frito-Lay with Godzilla. And I don't know, some people might have heard this story, but I said, I got a couple ideas. And I talked to the Frito-Lay food doctors, and I said, hey, can you make really tiny Doritos? And they're like, well, like, what do you mean? I go, like, little tiny ones, little tiny triangles. Because I was like, I want people to feel like they're Godzilla and they're getting a bag of these little Doritos. They're like, yeah, we could probably do that. But he was, honestly, they probably just all, be dust. Okay. And then I said, then here's the other idea. Can you just make one giant one? Just one big Dorito. And you open up the bag and that's all it is. Just a Godzilla-sized Dorito. And he's like, yeah, we could do that. We'd have to figure out, they were figuring out, like, how can they protect it? And they were like, it's going to need more air in the bag. You know how people are about air in the bag, but there was a reason for it. And, I was really bummed that I couldn't make that happen, because I'm still convinced that, like, anybody would feel pretty powerful if they could just, like, walk around with one giant,
The King Dorito.
just a giant, like, pizza slice sized Dorito.
Obviously, what movie do you think I was thinking of when you were talking about, like, Pepsi product tie-ins?
Oh gosh,
Wayne's World. Do you like the scene where they were, like, over the top?
Yes, yeah.
You were part of that.
Oh yeah. There was that whole period was. I was also this is the same agency that did the Pepsi points, the Harrier.
Oh, that one. Legendary.
That was before me.
Didn't do it.
I didn't do it. That was all that same period. All of that happened around the same time. Oh my God.
It's funny. They're just like these trends that pop up by era. And you've seen a lot of those.
Oh yeah. It is where we are now with, TikTok and Instagram and everything else is just like this idea of everything, and brands especially, going straight after influencers. It was sort of like, because in one of my lives, because my entire, and I mentioned, I go, my entire career has been just one big bouncy red ball, sometimes like Happy Fun Ball, but which don't touch Happy Fun Ball, don't approach Happy Fun Ball. If you don't know what it is, look it up. But whereas like it went one direction and then it smacked against the wall, and because of that it went in a different direction. And so a lot of times things in my life have sort of worked in tandem. Like I was working as a I started as a copywriter / receptionist. I was either a good writer or a bad receptionist, because that turned into a full-time writer after a few months. And then started reviewing movies on a local radio station. And then because of that thing and this thing combined, I got a different job. And it just these things, like one thing would lead to another, like sort of side thing as a result of this thing. So I bounced. My whole career is just bouncing back and forth. And I would love to say strategically, but movie obsession and movie tie-in and all that stuff has always been sort of like part of my, germinating inside of me to bring that just pop cultural awareness has always just kind of just been a natural state. So movies, reviewing movies, and like I said, I reviewed movies at a radio station, and that got me into going on press junkets and stuff like that, and going to press junkets. So I got to go to like Beverly Hills. They put you up in Beverly Hills Four Seasons. They have you watch a movie, and then you all sit around. You get to interview the stars and the creatives behind it. That's no different. To me, that was the influencers of back then. Is the same thing, because I see people crying foul now, especially if anybody saw it. There was Pedro Pascal standing around at Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland wearing the Mandalorian armor, and people are riding the Millennium Falcon ride, and then he takes off his helmet and his Pedro Pascal, and people are all mad because it's influencers, and they're like, oh, of course they have, and everybody's like in shock. Well, of course they're in shock. I mean, the visceral reaction to seeing like, oh, it's actually him. Whether they're influencers or regular schmoes is fine. But I think the schmo thing,
We've been doing the influencer thing for was it De Beers was like figured out how to sell diamond engagement rings through celebrities. Like this is like 100 years ago.
Yeah, this is nothing new. It is shocking that like, I don't know, there's just this weird anti-influencer culture, and I think the reason for it is just good old-fashioned jealousy.
That's funny. We've had this same conversation. It's just like it's in your face, and people are just generally burnt out and frustrated.
Sure.
And like the why not me?
Yeah,
because there's
that's exactly it.
Guy who does like this thing, like the KB Lane or whatever, is a billionaire.
There's the. Are you talking about the guy who like has the reactions?
Yeah.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Yes. But he's good.
Yeah, it's
good for
content.
him.
Yes.
And it's funny. If somebody else does it now, we all know that they're like, hey, you're doing this. It's like, what was the guy? Not Adam Scott. There's a guy who he just basically has videos of people falling down, and then he has his reaction. And then now I've seen that guy like on the red carpet, and somebody runs up to him. And
it's just the difference between being derivative and coming up with something. It's just like you have to create
and
do something.
Good for them.
I think there's a reasonable criticism of like, I'm a big pop culture guy as well, and I have things that I like. Like if I watch like WWE, for example, the influencer world kind of makes everything an ad, and the ad but that's always been that way. Businesses have pushed products, and we're just living the same thing.
Well, the expectation was, they flew me out to watch Star Trek Generations. The expectation was I was going to give it a glowing review. Now, it was great. The experience, of course, was fantastic. And yes, being able to sit down with Sir Patrick Stewart, sorry. He wasn't a sir at the time, but was incredible. But I also remember being like, we're just a bunch of dorks from local radio stations across the country, in a round table with a Royal Shakespearean actor,
Moments like that are so funny in life. It's just like, what's happening today?
The Star Trek thing was it was just like watching it happen. And I remember I was like, we all walk in and everybody kind of sat away from the main mic. And I'm like, hell with that. I mean, I'm sitting right next to it.
Once in a lifetime.
Yeah. I'm like, you guys are crazy. But I remember different actors would come in and how they would work the room and how they wouldn't work the room. And like Jonathan Frakes, if you're a Star Trek person, number one, Riker, Next Generation, just a gregarious, wonderful, great guy. He directed the movie, and this was his first, this was his directorial debut, and you just couldn't not like the guy. The guy was just great, and you could tell, like he was just one of those people, and he's still. I see him in interviews, and he's just like, man, that guy, he's a good dude. Patrick Stewart, was like a whole other thing. But the funny thing, the reason I bring it up is because like everybody started handing around this notebook and writing stuff down, and they handed it to me, and it was all the station call letters for all the stations, they wanted Patrick Stewart to do like stingers. You say, this is Patrick Stewart, and you're listening to KC95, engage. And that was terrible. I need a lot more time to get there. But I know they're like, yeah, give it to him. And I'm like, you guys are nuts, and there's no way I'm going to give this actor a bunch of like station call letters, and also there's no way that he's going to do it. I'm not asking him to read all of these.
This is Sir Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not doing that. So then I see the notebook make it, I just put it down, and I'm like, no. And I put it down, and then all of a sudden I see the book going back around the table the other way, and the guy on the other side starts to hand it to him. And man, his handler came out of nowhere. I don't know if he was like in a secret compartment. That guy popped up, and he goes, "Oh, we'll do this later." Good Patrick's like, "Oh," because he's looking at it.
Now that was a good Patrick Stewart.
And I just remember being like, "What is wrong with you people?"
Doug gave me the 1 minute sign. I have to end with one question.
Okay.
What is a movie that you think people haven't seen that they have to see? If you're a movie guy.
People haven't seen that they have to see. Oh, well, see.
Why is it Galaxy Quest?
That is fair, because Galaxy Quest is wonderful. However, I will say, Galaxy Quest has a documentary and has multiple releases, special editions. It's on 4K. I will say Big Trouble in Little China.
Great answer.
Because, it's still, we're in July will be the 40th anniversary of Big Trouble in Little China. See, I'm sitting on the edge of my seat. I'm passionate about that. No, that is John Carpenter and starring Kurt Russell. Who can do no wrong. But Kurt Russell was one of those guys I saw, on a press junket. It wasn't for the movie I was seeing. Nicest guy in the world.
The basketball scene in Escape from New York.
Oh, Escape from L.A.
L.A. Hilarious.
Well, yeah. So Escape from L.A. is Escape from New York. And literally, it's the same movie, just in L.A. But I still appreciate it. I just don't appreciate it as much as the original. But no, Big Trouble in Little China. It's a genre mashup. It is a little bit of everything, and it just did not hit with the audiences. It's a massive cult classic now. Still needs a 4K release. Dwayne Johnson was, I think he's still The Rock. The Rock was talking about reviving it and something that was sort of like a spiritual successor, which was like, oh, does that mean you're not Jack Burton and it's like a pseudo sequel? And I was just like, no, don't do that.
Well, I'll commit to watching it and giving you my full review.
So you've not seen this?
I haven't seen it. I conflated it with I Love Trouble with Nick Nolte and Julia Roberts.
Oh, absolutely not that.
No.
If you like a action hero who isn't, he's really not very good, and I mean that like he's a good guy, but he's kind of an oaf. He's not very strong. He's outwitted and spends a lot of the battles not either on his back or knocked out. And you like wire fu, so you like a little bit. It's a genre mashup. It is pure of that period though. The soundtrack, everything about it is just like when you see it now, it's like a love letter to like a period of time that's gone.
That's enough of a sell for me. This was awesome. This flew by. I couldn't believe when he gave me like the 5 minute and 1 minute.
I'm not surprised. I just start talking and I go to a fugue state, and I'm like afterwards I'll say, "What did I say?"
I have to. Is Happy Fun Ball Ren and Stimpy?
No,
What?
That was the shiny red button. Happy Fun Ball is one of the old SNL commercials. And it's most of the commercial is, they're like Happy Fun Ball, and then the rest of the commercial is nothing but disclaimers. Don't approach Happy Fun Ball. Don't look directly at Happy Fun Ball.
Is it like the Belushi years?
It was the Phil Hartman years.
better. I can like hear his voice now.
Yeah. Just check it out because it still holds up. It's one of those commercials where it's like the whole gag is the all of the which you watch any medical commercial now, especially those ones that like play on YouTube where like if you don't hit the skip button, which I'm starting to like let play because I'm like, I'm just curious how long this thing's going to go on. And there was one that was and it was Justin Long reading some disclaimers, and it went on for like 5 minutes. And I was like, good Lord, what is this? At that point, I was like, I don't know what this medicine is for. But it seems like
it helps your allergies.
The downside,
you might freaking die, bud.
Everything about it. I mean, it was just like one thing after another. Your entire, I
love Justin Long going from the Doctor in Idiocracy to the medicine commercial.
Oh, it was that. Although he and John Hodge have teamed up. The old Mac and PC guys are in another commercial for something else. So.
Oh, I forgot about that one. So you have a freak recall of pop culture.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, you use a lot of files. Like I always wonder, why do I use file storage the way that I do?
It is sort of like, there's a certain one or two categories at trivia night where I am like the golden child. And then I just should leave.
Johnny Knoxville, the ringer.
Because it's like... Oh, and now we're going to talk about sports. I'm going to go, and it's unfortunate because I have come from a family of sports fans and sports lovers, and I just like, I've always been the odd one out on that, and I don't know. Unless it's a movie, and then I might know.
We'll cover sports next time.
Great.
Dan, thanks, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.